It was a slow Tuesday afternoon at Charlie's Diner, a quaint restaurant tucked into a busy downtown street. Ella Johnson, a hard-working black waitress in her late 20s, was busy wiping down tables, her ever-present warm smile lighting up the room. Though the diner wasn't glamorous, Ella took pride in her work. She loved connecting with customers, making them feel at home with her kind words and infectious laugh. That afternoon, the bell above the diner's door jingled, and in walked a man who appeared disheveled and weathered. His clothes were torn, his shoes barely held together, and his eyes carried the weight of exhaustion. He hesitated near the entrance, glancing around nervously. Ella approached him with a gentle smile. "Hi there," she said kindly. "Can I get you something to eat?" The man shuffled his feet, his voice barely audible. I don't have any money. I just wanted to get out of the cold for a bit." Ella's heart ached as she looked at him. "Don't worry about it," she said softly. "You can have a seat. I'll bring you something warm." The man's eyes widened with gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice cracking. Ella guided him to a corner booth and went to the kitchen. She fixed him a steaming bowl of soup, a fresh roll, and a cup of hot coffee, placing the plate before him with a smile. As the man ate, the diner's manager, Greg, stormed over, his face red with anger. "Ella," Greg barked, what are you doing?" Ella looked up, startled. "He was hungry, so I gave him some food. It's just a bowl of soup." Greg scowled, his tone sharp. "This isn't a charity. If he can't pay, he doesn't eat. You're wasting our food and time." "But he needed help," Ella protested. "It's just one meal, Greg." Greg crossed his arms, his voice icy. "I don't care. You're here to serve paying customers, not play hero. If you can't follow the rules, you're out." Ella's jaw tightened. "If that's how you feel, maybe I don't belong here." "Fine," Greg snapped. "You're fired. Clean out your locker and leave." Ella stood tall, her voice steady despite the sting of humiliation. "I'd rather lose my job than lose my compassion." The man watched the exchange in stunned silence, his heart heavy with guilt. Ella packed her things and left the diner, her head held high while Greg muttered under his breath and returned to the kitchen. Little did anyone know the man Ella had helped was not who he seemed, and her kindness was about to come full circle. The next morning, Charlie's Diner opened as usual, with Greg pacing the kitchen and barking orders at the staff. The mood was tense, as Ella's absence had left a noticeable gap in the team. Around mid-morning, the bell above the door jingled, and in walked the same man from the day before. This time, however, he wasn't dressed in tattered clothes. Instead, he wore a crisp tailored suit, polished shoes, and a confident demeanor that seemed to command the room. The staff exchanged confused glances, and Greg, noticing the man, stormed out from behind the counter. "You again?" Greg sneered. "I thought I told you to get lost yesterday." The man didn't respond immediately. He walked past Greg and stood in the center of the diner, surveying the space with an air of authority. Then, with a calm yet firm voice, he said, "Let me introduce myself. My name is William Carter, and as of yesterday afternoon, I'm the new owner of Charlie's Diner." The room fell silent. The staff froze, their jaws dropping in shock. Greg's face turned pale, his earlier bravado evaporating. "You're the owner?" Greg stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. William nodded. "That's right. I finalized the purchase yesterday, just after leaving this diner. And let's just say, my first impression of this place was less than ideal." Greg swallowed hard, his mind racing. "Mr. Carter, I didn't know. I thought—" William raised a hand to silence him. "You thought I was just a homeless man, someone you could dismiss and demean without consequence. But what you didn't realize is that I was here to observe how this diner operates, and how its staff treats people." William turned to the rest of the staff, his gaze sweeping across the room. "I believe in running a business with integrity and compassion. This diner will be a place where everyone feels welcome, no matter who they are. And if anyone on my team can't align with that vision, they have no place here." Greg's face flushed with panic. "Mr. Carter, I can change. I've been with this diner for years. I know how it runs. William's expression remained calm but stern. Knowing how it runs isn't enough, Greg. You failed a basic test of decency yesterday. That's not the kind of leadership I want in my business. You're fired, effective immediately. Greg opened his mouth to protest but quickly realized there was no point. He grabbed his things and left the diner, his head hanging low. Turning to the remaining staff, William said, "Let's start fresh. I'm committed to making this a place we can all be proud of." As the staff nodded, still stunned, William pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Hi, Ella," he said warmly. "This is William Carter. Can you come back to the diner? I'd like to offer you your job back, and a lot more." Later that afternoon, Ella walked into Charlie's diner, her heart pounding with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. She had been surprised by the call from William Carter, and though his kind tone reassured her, she wasn't sure what to expect. As she stepped inside, the staff greeted her with smiles, and the atmosphere felt different, lighter, more welcoming. Ella spotted William standing by the counter, his confident yet approachable presence commanding attention. "Ella," William said warmly, stepping forward. "Thank you for coming." She nodded, her voice cautious. "You said you wanted to talk about my job." William smiled. "Not just your job. I owe you an explanation." He gestured toward a table, and they sat down as the staff watched from a respectful distance. "I wasn't entirely honest with you yesterday," William began. "When I came in, I wasn't just looking for a meal. I was assessing the diner before finalizing my purchase. I wanted to see how it operated on an ordinary day, how the staff treated customers, especially those who might not seem important at first glance." Ella blinked, processing his words. "You own the diner?" "That's right," William said. "I finalized the deal shortly after I left yesterday, and what I saw, your kindness, your willingness to stand up for someone in need, showed me exactly the kind of person I want on my team." Ella's cheeks flushed. "But I got fired for it." William nodded, his expression serious. "And that's why Greg is no longer here. His behavior was unacceptable, and it doesn't reflect the values I want for this diner." Ella looked down at her hands, unsure of what to say. "I'm here to offer you your job back," William continued. "But not just as a waitress. I'd like you to take on a leadership role, assistant manager. Your compassion and integrity are exactly what this place needs." Ella's eyes widened. "Assistant manager? Are you serious?" "Completely," William said with a smile. "Of course it comes with a raise and more responsibilities. I believe you have what it takes to help me turn this diner into a place where everyone feels welcome." Ella's throat tightened with emotion. "I don't know what to say. Thank you, Mr. Carter." "Call me William," he said warmly. "And you don't have to thank me. You earned this." Ella accepted the offer, and by the end of the day, she was back behind the counter, this time with a renewed sense of purpose and pride. As she served customers, she noticed a change in the atmosphere. The staff seemed more engaged, and the customers, many of whom were regulars, were already commenting on the improvements. "Ella," one customer said as she refilled his coffee, "it's good to see you back. The place just feels better with you here." Ella sonrió, su corazón hinchándose con gratitud. Over the next few weeks, Ella stepped confidently into her new role as assistant manager of Charlie's Diner. With William's support, she began implementing changes that transformed the diner into a thriving, inclusive space that reflected their shared values. The first step was rebuilding the team. Ella worked closely with the remaining staff, encouraging open communication and fostering a supportive environment. Her kindness and fairness quickly earned her the respect of her co-workers. "Ella's different," one of the cooks, Maria, said during a break. "She actually listens to us. It makes you want to do your best." Ella sonrió cuando escuchó el comentario. She knew firsthand how it felt to be overlooked, and she was determined to ensure no one on her team ever felt that way. William and Ella also collaborated on ways to give back to the community. Together, they launched a Pay It Forward program, allowing customers to prepay for meals for those in need. A chalkboard near the counter displayed messages like, "2 meals available? Ask if you need one." The program quickly became a hit, and the diner gained a reputation as a place where everyone was welcome. One afternoon, a young woman walked in, glancing nervously at the chalkboard. Ella approached her with a warm smile. "Hi there," Ella said. "Are you looking for a meal?" The woman nodded hesitantly. I don't have any money right now." Ella led her to a table. "Don't worry about it. Take a seat and I'll bring you something." As Ella served the woman a hot meal, she caught William's eye. He nodded approvingly, his expression proud. The diner also underwent physical changes. William invested in fresh paint, new signage, and upgraded equipment for the kitchen. The space retained its cozy charm, but now had a modern, inviting feel. During the grand reopening event, the diner was packed with customers, many of whom were regulars excited to see the changes. Ella stood by the counter, greeting guests and ensuring everything ran smoothly. As she watched the bustling crowd, she felt a surge of pride. The diner wasn't just a workplace, it was a community. Later that evening, as the event wound down, William called the staff together. "I just want to say thank you to all of you," he began. "This diner is thriving because of the hard work and heart you've put into it. And I want to give a special thanks to Ella. Her leadership and compassion have made all the difference." The staff applauded, and Ella felt her cheeks flush. "This isn't just my success," Ella said, addressing the group. "It's ours. Together we've created something amazing." The room erupted in cheers, and Ella realized she had found more than just a job. She had found her purpose. Months after the grand reopening, Charlie's Diner had become a beacon of hope and community. The Pay It Forward program gained widespread attention, with local news outlets covering its success. Customers came from across the city, not just for the food, but for the warmth and kindness that defined the diner's atmosphere. Ella, in her role as assistant manager, became the heart of the diner. She made it a point to greet every customer with a smile, remember their favorite orders, and ensure that everyone who walked through the door felt valued. One afternoon, a man in a business suit entered the diner and sat at the counter. Ella approached him with her usual warmth. "Hi there," she said. "What can I get for you today?" The man hesitated, then smiled. "I'll take whatever you recommend. I've heard great things about this place." As Ella handed him a menu, she noticed him glancing at the chalkboard displaying the number of prepaid meals available. "You're doing something really special here," he said, nodding toward the board. "It's rare to see a business that cares so much about its community." Ella sonrió. "It's not just about running a business, it's about making a difference. Everyone deserves a little kindness." Meanwhile, William continued to work behind the scenes, expanding the diner's impact. He partnered with local organizations to provide meals for shelters and organized community events that brought people together. One evening, as the staff cleaned up after closing, William gathered everyone for a quick meeting. "I want to share something with you all," he said, holding up a framed certificate. "Charlie's Diner has been recognized by the city for our community service efforts." The staff cheered, and Ella's eyes filled with tears of pride. "This is a testament to what we've built together," William continued. "And it wouldn't have been possible without each and every one of you." Later that night, as Ella locked up the diner, she paused to reflect. She thought about how much her life had changed since that fateful day when she defended the homeless man who turned out to be her future boss. Her kindness, which had once cost her a job, had led her to a new role where she could make a difference every single day. For William, the journey had been equally transformative. He had found not just a thriving business, but a purpose rooted in compassion and community. Together, William and Ella had turned a simple diner into a place where kindness wasn't just an occasional act, it was the foundation of everything they did. As Ella turned off the lights and stepped into the cool night air, she smiled. The diner wasn't just a workplace or a business, it was a home, a testament to the power of compassion and the unexpected ways it could change lives.